Okay, here we go. Here's your first variable, baseline. It looks like a pre-test score for RMSDD.
Which is the heart rate.
So it is not skewed or it is not kurtotic. So you take the statistic, you divide it by the standard error. If that quotient is greater than 2 or less than -2, you violated that assumption.
So you're going to be looking into statistics, not standard error, right?
Yeah, just right here for now. And then we're also
What is the cutoff for the kurtosis? Is that a cutoff that shouldn't be?
it should just be 2.
Okay.
Once you divide it by these guys.
Okay.
Okay, so all right, and let's go to the next one.
SDNN.
Baseline. This one is skewed. Okay, SDNN baseline. If you divide this by that, it's greater than 2. Same with this. So this one is.
What it means?
So that means your data does not fit a normal distribution for this one. SDNN baseline.
Okay.
Hold on.
Is that a problem?
All right, so this is the SDNN baseline. This is the data that's not normal,
Right.
and it identifies 2 outliers, subject number 28 and subject number 32, that answered much higher than everybody else.
On the
So 25% of your data falls between 20 and whatever that is, 5, and 25% of your data falls between whatever this value is, 20 and 22 or 23. This line is the median.
Okay.
So 21 was the median. That was the point right in the middle.
All right.
So each one of these lines going this way is a quartile. Okay, but you got 2 guys that are way up there.
Okay. So that explains why the data was.
Yeah, so again, this is the only variable that does not fit normality.
Okay.
Well, yeah, right here. So he's getting set up for the regression here. These are simply the means and standard deviations of a regression, and you really don't care. You don't care what those are, right? Because you're looking for the relationship between the variables, not the means or standard deviations. The software will use this data, but you as the researcher, man, we don't care. So again, there's the means and standard deviation of index. Here's the actual correlation. So between eating index, and your baseline, it is not significant. Okay, it is very lean. It's very small. It's not significant. Okay, so no relation between eating index. So most of these regressions, the little one-on-one simple regressions that he ran, none of them were significant until we got to this one. It is high-low RMSSD versus low HRV. It was significant, right? Let me pull this over so you can see it.
So it means that, and this is against emotional. So if the person has low HRV, they are high in emotional eating, correct? So it's significant, that regression. Because this is emotional eating scale of that Dutch eating behavior questionnaire. So it shows that if you are low in HRV, you will be. There's a correlation where they'll be high in emotional eating. What is that?
Yeah, there is. Well, yeah, that's what the word I was waiting for. There will be a significant correlation in low HRV scores. So in other words, when low HRV scores go up, emotional eating goes up.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But that's only true for these guys, not for the normal guys.
Which
Okay,
makes
so
sense. That's what I predicted.
that's what you predicted. Good. Oh, geez, you got a pretty big R square too. Forget about that. That's huge. Okay, that's a huge R square. So let's talk about some of the assumptions. The Durbin-Watson tells us that you did not violate the assumption of autocorrelation or independence of sampling, whatever you want to call it, because this is within 1.5 and 2.5. It's right there in the lower end, but it's still in the safety
What
zone.
does it mean again?
It means you did not violate the assumption of autocorrelation or independence of sampling, as it's called in some books. Okay, so you're good. You didn't violate the assumption. And then
And the R square means it's the.
that's the effect size,
Effect size.
which means you can explain about 34% of the variance in the scores just by this model, which is really strong.
By the low.
You got a significant ANOVA, which means your correlation is strong. We should probably double check for your beta weight. Holy guacamole, look at that, 0.582 negative. So in other words, for every unit, your low HRV goes up 1. Your DV, your emotional, goes down 0.5.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're looking for something else. Okay, so you got a real close borderline. You can argue it if you want it, but you almost have a significant relation when it comes to your low HRV guys between high-low SD. Get out of there, you double click. SDNN and SDNN baseline. Okay, so that means you got something going on there, borderline.
External, which is the impulsive eating.
Yeah, this is okay. The DV is external eating, and
The SDNN shouldn't have.
SDNN is the predictor variable, and it's non.
Consistently,
Yeah, it's non-existent. You got an R squared of 1/1000th,
Yeah.
which means you can't
So
explain
SDNN,
anything.
That's why we did not use it, because I can't argue that. Like, we used the RMSSD because the SNN was not normal, so we did not rely on any of them.
Good.
Yeah.
Bueno. So you do have a significant regression correlation, right, here between
External.
with your low HRV guys between the high-low SDNNN and the external eating was the DV. It is significant, right? You get an R squared of about 0.18, which is, small, but it's still there, and it is significant. So again, you have a relationship between your external eating and high-low SDNNN, but that's only for the low HRV people. And this looks like he split the file. That's why you're getting
Yeah,
separate.
you have to, yeah. That's
Again,
what
it's
we
only
do.
for the low HRV guys.
Also, because this is like when you can argue also that because we had to split the file, this is the hardest part, because we don't know if they have low or high HRV ahead of time. We had to get a lump of people and do a multiple regression to see them against themselves. So when we realize that there's a difference between the high and the low, there's not enough participants to see if there's significance or not anyway. If there was significance, it might say that, well, if we have more people, it might continue being significant. But if we have less people, in this case, I think they were split almost like 20-20, which means that they need a minimum of 40.
Help yourself. Yeah, okay.
What do you think?
No, that's good, right? Because sample size, if your sample size is too low, you're setting yourself up for increasing
Yeah.
type 1 error, so.
Yeah. So this is what,
It makes sense to me that if you're only getting a significant change between a part of your group, that makes sense. You want
No,
to
yeah.
investigate
But
why
if
that part of the group
The
is.
whole group many times did not have any significance. So we had to investigate the
Right.
high and the lows. Opposed to-
Correct, right. So you had to split up your first group because you weren't getting any significance anywhere.
Yeah.
So you did a little bit of, CIS Miami. You did some
Yeah.
investigating, looking at your group, you split it up, and then you
Could this
did.
be considered like a post hoc investigation?
But
Because if you set yourself up to do a certain type of design and analysis,
Yeah.
and that didn't work, and then you change that afterwards, shouldn't that be considered a post hoc?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and by definition, it is a post hoc, right? Because if your original test wasn't giving you anything, and you continue to investigate, that's after the fact. So yeah,
Yeah.
that you could consider that a post hoc.
All right. So let's continue.
Continuing, don't care about residuals. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care.
It's good that I know that you don't care.
I don't care. And see, there's an R squared.
DERS. Okay.
So what is this?
The DERS.
DERS
Emotional
and
regulation. I don't think we saw any significance between emotional
yeah,
regulation and
DERS. Yeah, that's nothing.
there was no significance between emotional regulation and
Yeah.
HRV.
And all these damn things. Okay, next one coming up. Whatever it was, there was not. It was
The
high-low
high
SDNN
yeah.
and DERS. Nothing.
Nothing, yeah. So just to make sure that at this point, we're not looking at HRV anymore. We're
Nope.
looking at the food logs and
Food log, yeah.
emotional
Index
regulation.
is the DV and DERS is the IV, and there's a significant correlation in there, right? R squared is about 16.5%, which ain't,
Not bad.
and it's not bad. It's not the biggest in the world, but it ain't bad, and it is a significant regression. So that's copacetic. Let's look at the beta weights. Woo. So that means when your DER scores goes up by 1 unit, your eating index goes up by 0.4. That's a pretty strong change there. So
Well, this is,
here's another significant with
this is-
emotional eating
yeah.
and DERS total, right? It's significant. The ANOVA tells us so, and you got an R squared again of about 12%, which is, medium to small, but it's still significant. So significant between emotional and DERS. Yay! Moving
So
on.
this is a question that I have. Like, so when he ran this, he's running with all the sample. So it's not saying if they are high or low in HRV.
They're not
just
even
like
in
the
there.
full, it's
Yeah.
just like all the participants.
Right, that is not with
scored
any
like
high or
this.
low DV anywhere. Our video.
It's just a sample,
Let's
yeah.
keep looking. Hold on.
There's
Here's another one. Yeah, DERS and external eating. Yeah, there's a significant relationship there too.
Yeah.
R squared, 0.18. That's good. Oh, let's look at your beta weight. Oh yeah, you got your beta weights are all relatively large. You're all in the 0.4s, which means I think you got something here. There's a
that's why we want to.
significant goings on.
Yeah. So yeah, the DAS is the stress, depression, and
DAS-D is a significant
Depression.
predictor of eating index.
food log. Okay.
Yeah, significant, definitely. R squared,
12%
yeah,
of the variance
that's
can be
pretty good.
explained by
Pretty good.
DAS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's another one. So DAS-A
Anxiety.
does predict external eating, right? It is significant. And the R squared is not that big, but again, it's significant, so it means something. And your beta weight is probably smaller. There it is, right? It's like 0.3,
Still.
which is still, impressive to me.
Yeah. Because this is another one with the.
Yep,
external.
DASSS is a viable predictor of external eating, right? R squared. It's interesting. Again, all your R squareds, they're all relatively close to each other, which is good. That's good. I
But
mean,
it showed that the sample was very homogeneous. I would
Correct.
say. Is that a problem with the ceiling effect?
no, not at all.
Okay.
No, not at all. So, but again, you got a good one, and you're back up to 0.4 on your beta weight. So, see, what we're seeing a pattern here.
Yeah.
There's a pattern here. You've come across a pattern, and they're all relatively the same pattern, which means that it's probably a real pattern. So let's keep going. So I think we're back at a split file again, but it says the same thing, that for those low HRVers, there is a borderline relationship between high-low SDNNNN and emotional eating again. So, boom, that's good news. And you got a big beta weight. Damn. And that is significant. So that what this means is when low HRV scores go up by 1, emotional eating goes down by negative 0.4. So that's interesting. But I think that's just about it. Wait, there's one more. And the second one, you got something here. A high HRV significance. So that means that when
There's total. So, and this one was what Cody and I were talking about, that the people, it sounds like the people that has high HRV or normal HRV are more aware of their, variation in emotion, and that they know that they are emotionally eating because of their emotions. And apparently the low HRV people that you would expect that to happen don't have that awareness. It might be one explanation of this.
that is which one of these is awareness at the high low?
DERS is the emotional regulation skills.
DERS, got it. Okay, so
Yeah.
got it. Wow, that's weird.
So if they know, if they scored that they know that they have have a hard time regulating emotion, they have more awareness of that. Whereas the other, and they did not score high in a lot of the stuff, and the low HRV people did score high, but they did not have the DERS, which means maybe they're not aware of that correlation between.
There's a cause right there,
Yeah.
man. They're not
Yeah.
aware. I mean,
Yeah. That's something I could talk about in discussion. Yeah.
yeah. And then again, here's your beta weight
Beta
for your.
weights.
That's pretty high. Scrolling down here, and that was it. Okay. You want me to do the talking?
Yeah. So this is just the total. So high low RMS, they are comparing all of the variables against the full sample without high and low.
Right. No correlation to anything for high low. Let's just jump down to BIS total. Yes. Significance to DERS total, DAS A, and DAS-S.
Which means that impulsivity is correlated to emotional regulation, depression, anxiety, and stress.
Good. Your DERS total is
Also correlated to
BIS, DAS A, DAS D, DAS S.
yeah. Okay. It's the same.
So is your DASD is okay. This is the rest of the stuff.
The interesting is that you see that there's no correlation with anything based on BMI, meaning their weight doesn't influence any of the
Right. There's
results.
your BMI and there's nothing in any of your BMI column, so that's good.
And there's nothing also with the total of the heart rate variability for the total of the sample.
Right, high, low, both together. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, moving down on to the next set of correlations. So we got SDNN, baseline, DebQ total, emotional, external, eating index, BIS total, DIRS total, DOS, D. So let's start looking for some patterns. DebQ, DIRS,
Emotional regulation is correlated to emotional eating.
very high, right? DERBQ and
Yeah,
emotional.
but these two.
They're
emotional-
embedded in each other.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
so-
scales on that, so don't.
So let's not worry about that.
Yeah. This one is emotional eating also with stress, right?
Yeah, kind of goes together. Chocolate ice cream, baby. So you got emotional and external,
Yeah,
DIRS total and external,
yeah.
DOS A and S with external.
Mm-hmm.
So eating index with DIRS total and DOS D.
Okay, so the food log was correlated with the scale of the emotional regulation and depression.
Okay, and then
Food log.
your BIS total, you're gonna got
Impulsivity.
you got external,
Uh-huh.
DIRS total,
That
and
should
all the
be-
DOS A's,
yeah, the
B's,
BIS
D's.
should be with the external because they're both external impulsivity eating.
So this guy is
DIRS.
he's to everybody.
Yeah. So emotional regulation has a lot to do with this sample, and they have problems with external eating, food log, everything.
There's a significant correlation with everything on this DIRS. What's
Yeah.
DIRS measuring again?
Emotional regulation. And
Got
that's basically what I think. So my whole idea is that emotional regulation is what's, driving all this eating behavior, and that is causing the heart rate to go down. However, the sample did not make any correlation between DIRS and HRV, which is interesting. I don't know what to make of that.
It is interesting. You could have a confound variable in there somewhere.
I don't know.
All right, so and the rest of these are backwards. We should already know this, right? So DIRS total, we already know, and then DOS D. So these bottom halves are simply the repeat of what we saw upstairs. Okay, so
So now you're looking separate, the low and the high HRV, to see how they correlate. So that's important.
good. So now we're talking about the split file. So this first top part is strictly with the low HRV guys, right? Got that? Low HRV guys only. So we're looking at SDNN baseline and
So you see that so the low people, when they score high on this is the SDNN. So there's a correlation, right, between the DBQ scale and SDNN, because we just cut all of those, but it should repeat.
yeah.
And they also are related to the emotional and external, which is, we already know that. So we do have a correlation between food log and the low HRV. So they also did that.
For the baseline, right?
Yeah. And also, so they emotionally eat. So it's correlated to the HRV. It's correlated with,
But now the negative signs. What that tells me when San Diego baseline goes down, DebQ goes up, or vice versa, right? They're
so the
inversely
lower the
proportional.
HRV, the higher the emotional eating. That's the correlation.
Perfect.
So that makes sense. And then the external is the same. The food log is correlated to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. To the DIRS.
Right,
So
because
the
the DIRS
food
is
log-
connected to everybody.
Yeah.
So.
And the impulsivity is also related to the depression and stress. And the DIRS total. So we have a lot of correlation for the low HRV people, between the food log, the emotional eating, depression, and anxiety. And
Yes, you
for the
do.
DIRS, they are correlated to impulsivity, external eating. So they do have a lot of impulsive eating, and they are correlated. So that's good news, because that's confirming
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's backing up what you're trying to prove there.
Yeah. So the
And
stress. So this now is for.
so here's the normal Normans.
Yeah. So they are the DIRS. So they have the DIRS correlated here.
Yeah, so these don't count because these, like you said, one of these is embedded in the other, so they're
Yeah.
automatically going to be high.
That's what
We
I
don't care about
jumped
that.
on them. So they have the people with normal HRV. So they have a correlation between the way they eat and the emotional regulation. So you can see all the way down here.
Yep, all the way down.
So they have impulsivity, they have external eating, and they have stress. So they are eating because of stress. The food log did not tell anything.
Nope.
They also have, it's correlated with the higher the impulsivity, the more the DIRS is correlated. So this is what I'm telling you, that the people go back to the low. So you see the DIRS here, go up to the low HRV people. The DIRS is not as much as the high HRV, the normal HRV people. So that's why we were saying, like, maybe they're not aware. How come the normal HIV people are?
That could explain it, right? Maybe they're just not aware, right? So these are the low guys, and here's the high guys.
See, it's all over the place.
Yeah, they're all over the place. You're right. Very good.
So what's one more? Is there anything else below this for us to take a look?
Let's take a quickie.
So, okay. So
This is the split
looking-
file again, the low HRVs.
Yeah. So this, I think I'm just looking directly between emotional regulation and the food. So, which tells that the people with low HRV, they score high in emotional eating, right? But these are correlating directly with the scale, so it just doesn't say a lot. So they're more, the food log is actually confirming.
Well, this is borderline, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Let's keep looking.
yeah. So the normal people, this is what is a little confused. Go back. This is what is confusing to me, because if emotional eating is correlated to the DEBQ and external,
Only for just the low armed
Yeah,
HRV guys.
this should correlate anyway with the DBQ. So emotional and external eating are correlated for
Low.
low people.
So let's
So,
go to
okay,
high
so let's see
people.
the high people.
External, or was it emotional?
It's all correlated,
So for both groups,
Mm-hmm.
emotional eating and external eating,
but not the food log.
but not the food
log
log.
did not predict anything.
Correct. It's just sitting down there with no significance. You have no significance.
Yeah, insignificant.
You are de-rest. Okay.
Okay, like-
DIRS, emotional.
So this is just breaking down what we had before. So this is just looking into the scales, but I think they were all already on the first matrix.
Yeah, me too.
So it's just like breaking it down.
They all look strangely
So that's
familiar.
just looking into, that the participants, how, I just wanted to see the DAS. So the DAS, how did they correlate to all the participants? So it's just showing that, let me see here. So if they are more anxious, you see here, they would eat more impulsively. And if they're more stressed as well. So,
Nothing under emotional. Interesting enough. right?
interesting enough, exactly.
Nothing there.
The DBQ total shows on stress, and that's what is the breakdown that I wanted to see. So put it up, let me see here.
Where?
Yeah, still, so the emotional here, so the DBQ.
External. Crazy high.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that has to do with, impulsive eating, and it might have to do something with the inability of them to restrain,
Yeah.
their impulsivity, impulse behavior.
So this looks like the big stuff here. So BIS and external barely. DebQ, emotional external definitely. Emotional DebQ, so that's just
Yeah,
backwards.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's just backwards. So yeah.
yeah. So I think I have everything.
MGZ out.